Hello everyone and welcome to the Snapping and Gumball Rhino tutorial. The Gumball is a modeling aid used for moving, rotating, and scaling your selected objects. If we have the option turned on by clicking it here at the bottom of your window and selecting any object, the Gumball will appear at the center of that selected object or group of objects. By dragging the arrows of the object, it will move in the direction the arrow is showing. By clicking on the arrow, it will ask you to input a numeric value and move the object in your space by that numeric value. The same controls apply for the arcs that you can see around the center of your gumball. If I hold and click, I can rotate the object in that plane. If I click once, I can input a numeric value in degrees, and it will rotate the object by that amount. These dotted lines with the squares at the edges are used to scale your object in that direction. Now, let's talk about snapping. Snapping are these modeling aids that assist with moving your objects and clicking around your model. They are incredibly important in aiding you to create accurate models. They basically snap to important parts of your 3D model. They are located at the bottom of your window. To turn any of them on, you simply click on them, and they will turn bold. For example, if I want to turn grid snap on, I click on it, and now all the modifications that I make to my model will be snapping to this 1-inch grid. If I turn it off, I can move the model more freely in between that grid. The next one is Ortho snap, which is orthogonal snapping. If I turn it on, any change that I would try to make to my model, for example, if I want to move this plane, I type in move, and I select anywhere in the model space, I'll only be able to move this object orthogonally to my grid. I'm going to turn it off now. Planar makes sure that everything you do stays within that same plane. For example, if I have planar turned off, so it's not in bold, and I try to draw a line starting from this corner of a box and end it somewhere in space, then I click enter, I will notice that the line started in the corner of a box, but then it actually dropped all the way down to the ground plane. Now, if we want to draw a line starting from that same corner, but with planar turned on, and click somewhere in space, we'll notice that the line actually stayed within the same plane that it started in. The next one is O-snap. O-snap is what you will use a lot since it has a variety of options. If I turn it on, you can see all of them here. Look for these carefully and try them all out. Make sure to only keep on the ones you're using, since having too many on becomes overwhelming and difficult to find the perfect snaps. I'm going to turn all of mine off. Except end. And let's start using it. For example, I'll select all of my objects, and I'm going to try to mirror them, type in mirror, based on this edge located here. So I'm going to snap to this endpoint and the next endpoint. Now, let's say I want to move this model up by using some sort of edge located in my model. I'm going to turn on near, type in move, start by snapping to one of the edges, endpoints, and then if I scroll or hover my mouse over any of the edges of my model, the model will only move according to that edge. If I want to go past this edge even higher, I can actually lock my movement only on this edge by hitting Tab while near is active. This will create a white line that will limit my movement of my model only within this edge. And now I'll click to drop the model in this place. So now my model is moved. Actually, I want to make a copy that was at the same origin as before. So I'm going to type in copy. I'm going to click on this endpoint. I'm going to snap again to this edge, hit Tab, and go downwards. And if I wanted to be at the 0, 0 line, limited to this vertical movement, I can just type in that coordinate while it's in this snap mode. And just type in enter, 0, 0, 0, and enter. And now the model has been copied to its original point. Midpoint allows you to snap to the midpoints of your curves or polysurface or surface edges. So if I have it on and I want to create a curve, I can actually snap to the midpoints of my existing curves on screen or the edges of my objects. If I want to mirror this line that I created, I can select it, type in mirror, snap to this central line that I have, and click to complete. Another important one is the project snap. If I have it turned on, any line that I draw will automatically be projected to my ground plane. So even if I draw something that is located in multiple planes at different heights, and I'm snapping to all these points located throughout my model. This one happens to be on the ground plane. This one happens to be higher. This one is even higher. The curve that is actually being created, as you can see, is grounded to the ground plane because of a project snap is turned on. Now I'm going to turn it off. If you want to limit any of your commands or movements within your model space to the orthogonal grid without having orthogonal turned on, you can always hold down Shift. So for example, if I want to move an object, type in move. I'm going to select this group of objects. Now let's say I want to move it to the side. I'll press enter. I can freely move it around since orthogonal is not turned on. But if I hold down Shift, I'll only be able to move it orthogonally to my grid. I'll do that again. And move it slightly closer to my camera. Now if I have orthogonal turned on, and I try to move this, as you remember, it snaps to the orthogonal grid. But if I hold down Shift, it brings back that freedom, so I can snap to other points or curves in my model space. The last one is Smart Track. Smart Track is a dynamic way of snapping which allows you to use virtual construction lines that don't actually exist in the model space, but are implied by the existing geometry. For example, to draw a curve in line with this box, I can start on one corner, and by hovering my cursor over the other corner, this locks my next point within that line. If I want to use other geometry as reference, I can hover over it until the point turns white, and now I can snap based on that geometry. Let's try to duplicate all of my current geometry and create something more messy and complex. I'm going to select it all, type in mirror. Now I'm going to try to use Smart Track to snap to what I know is a sort of symmetrical line happening here in my model. And actually I'm going to try to turn it 90 degrees. Mirror at 90 degrees. Like so. I'm going to click. And now the model is mirrored. And let's say I want to make another copy of all of this mess in the vertical plane. I'm going to select it all, type in copy, make sure vertical is selected by pressing V, enter, click a reference point, and now my movement will only be restricted in the vertical direction. Alternatively, as you remember, I can type in copy, pick a reference point, and then hover over my next reference point, which is this endpoint, if I want to move vertically. And without clicking hit tab on your keyboard, this will lock my movement only in this vertical space. Then once I'm happy with the distance, if I'm eyeballing it, or I could just input a specific dimension. In this case, I'll input 100. I can copy this object more over, or I can just click escape to exit out of this command.